Hey guys, it's Natalie. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review and discussion of Robert Michals' The Demon in the Trees by Ben Sanders. I will leave a link to Ben's channel right down below for you guys, as well as his Instagram and where you can purchase The Demon in the Trees if you're interested in it. I'm just going to start off by saying that I actually have not really been very familiar with the myth of the Wendigo and things like that. And for those of you that don't know, that is a big component of this book. A Wendigo is essentially a cannibalistic creature. So it's a little gruesome, I'm not gonna lie, but the way it's presented in Robert Michals is really, really impressive and really interesting. I feel like you learn enough information without it feeling like a lecture, and it was just really enjoyable. As far as the actual book goes and the plot and everything, I really enjoyed it. I'd probably give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really, really cool. I'm not a really big mystery thriller fan, but this book I actually really enjoyed. I was getting emotional reading it. The suspense was real. So basically the story follows the main protagonist, Robert Michals. He has recently been promoted to inspector, and he's working his first solo case, and that starts off with a missing woman. Her name is Jessica Aarons, and she is basically abducted from her home. And we actually see in the very beginning of this book her account of the abduction and what's going on, and it's really cool how he changes perspectives in this book. At first I was worried at the beginning because he did a lot of perspective changes, and then there was a huge gap of time where it was only from Robert's perspective, but as you continue reading, you start to understand why that was the case, just because Robert's perspective was where all of the main information was coming from and the main storyline, because of course Robert is our main protagonist, so it just makes sense. But you do get multiple perspectives as the book goes on as well. And I also really don't like perspective jumping in books. I usually like just a single perspective, but I actually think Ben Sanders pulls that off really nicely in his book as well. And I feel like it's just enough, and it's not too obnoxious of changes to where you're completely thrown off as to what's going on. I feel like they're all very relevant, and that was really enjoyable. And I feel really bad. I feel like I am reviewing a book which traditionally I wouldn't like, but I actually loved it. So hopefully that says a lot about it, because I did really enjoy it. There were just a lot of really interesting scenes and interesting moments in it. And I have to say the other supporting characters were really interesting as well. I really liked Lieutenant Lynch. I think her character was really well developed. And I like that as you get to know her and as we see her more throughout the book, you kind of see that she does have more of a soft heart. She's not just, a hard-ass lieutenant, which is really cool, and I like seeing that depth in characters. And I also really enjoyed just the small little moments between Ramirez and Sarah and Lewis and Robert, because I thought those were really cool, and it's interesting to see these characters as officers or as a lieutenant or as an inspector, but also see them as people. And I feel like you don't always get that a lot in books about the police force or books about people in charge of crime investigations. A lot of time it's solely focused on the investigation itself, and while of course that is the main storyline of this entire book, I thought it was nice that we got to see them as people as well, and we got to see that they are struggling through minimal sleep and not getting enough food, and coffee being life in a cup. That was my favorite line. I thought that was so witty and so true. But this book was really good, and I really enjoyed it. And I think when it comes to writing and it comes to, editing and completing a book, I think it's a really big thing. I mean, I'm in the middle of, winding down the days. I've only got a few days left until my book is going to go on pre-order, and then it's going to be released. So I can understand probably the amount of work and effort that went into this book. I really applaud Ben for writing this, and I think it takes a lot to put a story into a book and to just kind of go for it. And I believe this is a self-published novel, if I'm not mistaken. And I think overall he did a really good job with it, and I really admire the cover and the art design and just everything about it. Even just the synopsis on the back is intriguing, and I just love it as a whole. I definitely want to message him and discuss it with him, because I do have a lot of questions about things, but I really liked it. And I think that I really like this book because I think it just sort of unravels everything very nicely. We start out with Robert getting, his first solo case, and it's, a house that's been, wrecked, and there's no one really there, and so someone called about it. And it's cool to see that, and to see it start off so sort of minimal and trivial, and they're like, oh, you'll be done with this in an hour, you'll be back, it'll be fine. And then it just kind of explodes into this whole thing. And I think just the way that Robert Michals handles the situation, and he handles the entire case as it continues on and as it grows, is really wonderful. And I can see why he was promoted to an inspector just so young and so early on, is because of how much heart he has and how much he puts into, solving this case and finding the people that go missing. And I just really, really admire him, which is weird because he's a fictional character, but I just really did enjoy this book a lot. There were a few parts in it that I felt like were kind of a little forced, but that might just be because there was needed some kind of introduction to these things. For example, when the Wendigo is first presented, it's kind of in my opinion, it was in a bit of a forced way in that he gets like a little alert about a Wendigo on his phone, and I believe it's in an email, and felt very out of the blue, and I guess that's kind of why he shrugs it off and ignores it. But I just thought it was a little forced in the way that it was introduced. But I think after that, as he sort of continues on and he meets with Professor Smith, and as they sort of discuss the different mythological creatures that he talks about and what his history classes and mythology classes are about, I think that was a really good way to just further introduce the whole Wendigo scenario, and I really liked that a lot. Overall, the character development was really impressive. I really enjoyed the reality that the characters go through, where they do need to find food and they need to get some kind of sleep, even if it's in the storage closet. They will do it, and they make the time for it when they absolutely need it. And I just think it was nice, and it felt very real. It felt like this could have been a real scenario that happened, and maybe minus the mythological aspects to it, but for the most part, I mean, the fact that he's running on minimal sleep, the fact that he is working so hard, the fact that he's constantly got aches in his shoulders and his back from sitting or standing or driving, I just really enjoyed all of those components, and I think it made it very real, which I really enjoyed. And I thought the characters were very honest as well, which made it really enjoyable to read and just to process as well. And yeah, I just really like this book. I think it was set up really well, and I think Ben is a really great writer, and I think just the whole storytelling aspect of it was very nice, and I think his writing was very succinct. There wasn't a lot of random fluff in there. Looking back and kind of thinking about the little things that I didn't think mattered too much, they end up mattering a lot. For example, at one point when he's leaving in the police station, he accidentally kind of bumps into someone that he doesn't really recognize, but he's like, oh, whatever, he's probably like some new guy, and he just kind of continues on, and that ends up being a very relevant part of the story later on. And so I think it's really interesting that he manages to weave all of these little things together, and this is a really good mystery novel because it has those elements and it has those moments that you will brush off because the characters brush them off, only for them to come back and kind of haunt you and have you realize, oh my gosh, this was actually really important. And so I think it's really cool, and it's cool to see Robert Michals come to the conclusion that every little thing that's happened is important too, because I think it shows the importance of not skipping over the little things, and that attention to detail really does make a huge difference in the end. I'm really happy that Ben sent this to me, so thank you so much, Ben, for sending me this book to review. I really did love it. It was so good. I will definitely be emailing you because I do have some questions about it. But yeah, if you guys are at all interested in purchasing this book, I will again leave links down below. I highly recommend it. I'm not sure if it's offered as an ebook. If it is, I will leave that link down below. I feel like ebooks are like literally the best thing because you can carry them with you at all times. And again, overall, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really did like it, and I really hope you guys pick it up because I'm a little obsessed. It was really good. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for Ben, and if he's adding on or maybe making a duology or just kind of starting a series with Robert Michals as the inspector.
Or maybe as a Homeland Security agent. I don't know, you'll know what I'm talking about if you read the book. Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Alright, thank you guys so much for listening to this review. I really hope you guys liked it. Leave comments down below if you've read this book before or if you're planning to check it out. Again, I definitely think you should. And I will see you guys in my next video sometime soon. Bye guys!